It's so hard to say goodbye.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Oh yeah, it's so hard to say goodbye, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're saying goodbye to Kazemi. Today he turned over all control and powers to the new Prime Minister, Al-Sundin. Kazemi gave a pretty good farewell speech. In his speech, though, you could tell that he is preparing himself for what's to come. And that is the coordinated framework is definitely going to go after him. They're going to accuse him of being corrupt. They're going to go after him and try to charge him. Maliki is not thrilled about the fact that, Kazemi attempted to investigate him, or actually he was investigated, but nothing ever happened to him. So now that Maliki and his people are back in power, you can bet there is a lot of revenge on their mind. And Kazemi knows this. They already restricted him from being able to leave the country. Yep, what's that tell you right there? Anyways, let's get into the latest and the greatest, shall we? Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, check out our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. You can see right here, it says Al-Sundin begins his work as Prime Minister and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So it is official. The new government has been formed and starts work today. There's a lot of people out there going to town on YouTube, going crazy about the exchange rate getting ready to happen. Get ready for it to soar. It's going to take off. This is the time we've been waiting for. Same old, same old. So everybody and their mama is congratulating the new prime minister on taking over in Iraq. All of them are promising to support the new government in their endeavor. We had the Saudi prince and the king give a congratulations to Al-Sundin. Of course, the United States did, France did, you name it, Germany, United Nations, all thrilled to death that the new government is put into place. So here is the farewell speech from Kazemi. Let's focus in on some of the things that he says. So it said Kazemi listed today, Thursday, the government's achievements under his watch. Kazemi says in his farewell speech, which was reported by the media, I hand over the National Secretariat and the leadership of Iraq to my brother, the state of President Al-Sundin, who voted for the House of Representatives on his government program, wishing him success in performing his national duty and completing the journey of serving our people. Kazemi recommended that all political forces support every endeavor of the new government on the path to stability and growth and defend democracy and human rights, and not to expose those who stand up for this noble mission to appeal, abuse, pressure, and extortion at the expense of the interests of the people and the homeland. It's kind of like a hidden message there, wouldn't you say? Kazemi went on to say he delivered the trust, and the country is not only in a better condition, but Iraq is the fastest growing Arab economy in 2022, which we know about, with a rate of 9.3%, according to the IMF, at a time when the global economy is witnessing a widespread slowdown. This is true, so congrats to that effort by Kazemi. That's a great job for Kazemi, considering they had his hands tied almost the whole time he was in office. He went on to say that we received a cash reserves of $49 billion, and a reserve today is at $85 billion. Now that's impressive, very impressive. We know that the price increase in oil had a big part of that. We received gold reserves of 95 tons, and it's now 134 tons. That's huge. I mean, that's actually really good. So these things, like I said before, do a lot to help protect the Iraqi Dinar, the currency. It says we received an almost empty treasury. Even the employee salaries cannot be paid, and today the country's treasury is full. Praise be to God. You're dang right. Praise be to God. and it is waiting for a responsible and fair budget to spend resources on building the nation and investing in the Iraqi people. So he goes on to say in here, look, the whole time he's been in office, you understand that he only had an actual 6-month budget? They couldn't get one passed before he took over. A lot of bickering, a lot of fighting, nothing could get accomplished. They were stubborn about voting in his cabinet for a while, if you guys remember that. By the time he even got a cabinet in there, next thing you know, the whole next year was already here. They did everything they could to get a budget together, but then all of a sudden, Iraq was about to collapse, their government. They had no money. So there was a lot of fidgeting that needed to be done, and lo and behold, they finally passed the budget. And by then, Kazemi only had 6 months left in the year. So technically, he only had a budget of 6 months in his almost 2 years there. And he accomplished all these things. I can only imagine what he would have been able to accomplish had he continued, or had he had the budget and the support that he needed. He goes on to say one of our most important priorities was to preserve public money and increase the treasury and reserves and not waste people's money. And some promote with the aim of diverting responsibility for those who are actually involved in corruption cases and creating confusion so that they have space for manipulation. All this despite the fact that my government was not granted the budget only for 6 months. You know, I spoke about this before. We don't have to kick a dead horse, to just keep going over it. We knew that if the coordinating framework got in control again, then all the corruption files on these members would just magically disappear. The cases would go away, and you wouldn't hear any more about the corruption. But don't be surprised if all of a sudden they just turn this around and magically find evidence of a corrupt government under Kazemi. I don't believe that at all. Kazemi indicated that the economic crisis requires long-term rational measures, which we have laid its foundation in economic reforms, which we hope will be continued to protect the future of our generations. Yeah, I was kind of hoping the same thing. Iraq is back on track, and they were making huge strides under Kazemi. They were removed from Chapter 7. Oil prices have gone up. Their foreign asset reserves and gold reserves had increased big time. So they were definitely on track. I understand that the devaluation, people were not happy about it, but it was necessary. And it seemed to me like the reform papers that were put forward were doing what it needed to do to help put Iraq back on track and to keep it on track. But now, with this new government in there, with Maliki and his people, I'm hoping and praying for the Iraqi people that they continue to reform Iraq and not go right back to the corruption that was there prior, and then these people stealing the money from the Iraqi people. But it's hard to feel optimistic about this because of who it is that is now in charge. He stressed the need to achieve political solidarity to support strategic projects such as the Great Port of Fall, which has made great strides recently in gas, energy, and alternative energy projects, hospitals, schools, construction, and housing projects, which have entered service or are still under construction, maintaining the level of economic growth. What has been achieved and developed requires solidarity amongst all in the spirit of brotherhood, not in the spirit of confrontation that weakens the nation, drains its capabilities, and misses opportunities to achieve the aspiration of the people. With regards to security, Kazemi noted that today he is delivering a coherent security situation in which pockets of terrorism have been eliminated and the security forces of all kinds have been strengthened with professional training, equipment, and armament, which led to an increase in the global rating of the Iraq army from 57th to 34th. And the government will have to build on and developing all of this, continue to support the army and security services, and maintaining social peace. Kazemi said concerning the social crisis, the crisis that accompanied the popular demonstration in October and beyond has established an atmosphere of mistrust between the people and the state agencies. And many innocent and pure blood has been spilled from our people, adding, we made every effort to restore the people's confidence. We have worked hard by training our forces to deal peacefully with demonstrators and prohibiting the use of violence and weapons against them. We have adopted a policy of recognizing the great sacrifices made by the young men and women of Iraq. We have compensated the families of those affected, and we have preserved the rights, and we also call for the completion of this duty. Al-Kazemi concluded by saying, today we hand over responsibility to the new government, and Iraq is enjoying increasing regional and international appreciation, has become a destination for resolving complex disputes in which regional and international conferences are held, such as the Baghdad Conference on Partnership and Cooperation. So here we go. We're going to find out quickly what's going to happen with the Iraqi dinar. It really depends on what this government has in store for the Iraqi people. I have no doubt that Iraq is going to change the exchange rate and bring it back to the previous rate. So right now you get 1,450 Iraqi dinars for every $1 US. I'm pretty sure they're going to change it back to where you get 1,200 dinars for every $1 US and 1,190 dinars. It's only a 10 dinar difference, but you get the point. So you're looking at about a 17.5% increase in value. That's not too bad at all. This depends on when you bought the Iraqi dinar and how much you paid for it. We'll keep a close eye on this government and see what it is they have in store for the Iraqi dinar. I'm anticipating that once the first rate change takes place, depending on how it affects the Iraqi government, I'm anticipating a second rate change within 6 months. Nothing major, they're just going to go up in increments. I think what they want to do is pay attention to how these increases are going to affect the overall economy. If they do something and damage it after all the hard work Al-Kazemi has done, it's not going to reflect well on this current government, and you can expect civil unrest and even more protests. Now, nothing will calm the people down more than finding out that they have more purchasing power and the cost of goods are going to go down and they're able to buy more items with their dollar. Yes, that's going to be good. I'm anticipating the first rate change will start stimulating the economy even more. But the government can't just increase and go, okay, there we go. No, they also have to be competitive internationally, especially with trade. Once this first rate change takes place, we'll pay attention to how this affects the Iraq economy overall. And then from there, it's easy to make the assumption that within 6 months, they're going to do another increase. And if they're going to go from 1,200 dinars per dollar, don't be surprised if you don't see it drop down to 1,100 or even 1,050. Small increments, but a big jump from where we are today. Again, they have to be very careful. If this doesn't go the right way, you could turn off the international community. They can shut you out altogether. And if that happens, we're all the way back to square one. Okay? I mean, it's easy to get excited about what's going on, but you got to understand that the rate change is not happening the proper way it should. And let's just cross our fingers that it doesn't hurt the Iraqi people. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. Leave your comment down below, and I'll look forward to your comments, and I'll get back to you later. And I'm out.